Hi, Bruno. I knew I could count on you. I'm just going to wait for a few more people to join us. Hey, Jan. So good to see you. So I'm so glad everybody's here tonight. We're going to do something a little bit different for this Tuesday Night Live than we've done in the past. I had originally thought that we were going to talk about suicide prevention tonight because September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month nationally. Although for some of us, it's suicide prevention awareness every month, every week, every day, and every hour. So we've talked about that so much, and we've talked about the depression and what it means to be depressed and how people end up taking their lives. And I've talked about that for so long that it began to be clear to me that I can't do anything about those that have lost, but I can do something with the people that are still here. You see, I know something about this, something very personal about this, because on September 1st, 2011, at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I got a phone call from my daughter. She was in her last semester of college. She had graduated school early. She had just moved out with her boyfriend, gotten an apartment, and things were going great. And this particular day, she was very upset, and she called me. She couldn't find her keys. She'd been partying all weekend, and she didn't know where she put them. And she asked me to come and pick her up and take her to school. Well, you see, my day was very busy, and I didn't want to arrange things because she had been irresponsible. So I told her that I couldn't pick her up, and she was very upset about it, but I thought it would maybe teach her a lesson and let her see that what being irresponsible could do. And she told me that she loved me. She hung up the phone, and she used the gun that I had given her just the week before, and she shot herself, and she's gone forever. See, I know what grief is because I have to live with that. And that's why this is such a subject to me that is so difficult, but yet so easy to talk about, because I want to do everything I can to make it better. And I told my story years ago, and since then, I've been getting letters and emails and private messages almost on the daily from people that have experienced loss. They've experienced loss by suicide, or maybe just loss of a loved one, or great losses of their lives. And I just have 3 that I want to read to you. One of the letters I got was from Cindy. She lives in Pensacola, Florida, and she said, "I've seen your posts on Facebook, and you always seem so happy. How do you do it?" She said, "I've lost so many people to suicide, and even though it's been so long ago, I can't seem to get over it. Please help me." And then there's one from Nancy, who lives in Pittsburgh. And she said, "Thank you for speaking out on suicide. I wish I had the courage you do, but my family won't allow me to do it. We've all pretended that my brother was in a car accident. And we all know that's not true. And over the past 2 years, we as a family have even gone so far as to make up the details of the crash, and it was all a big lie. What can I do? I wish that it had been okay for my brother to talk about what was bothering him, because maybe it would have helped him." And then Bill from Texas wrote to me, "I felt compelled to reach out to you because of your posts about suicide. I don't know how you go on and how you can smile. Don't you miss your daughter? Don't you feel guilty that she's gone? How can you be happy after losing her? When my wife died of suicide, I stopped living because I don't know how anyone can go on knowing that their love wasn't good enough to keep them around." You see, because of these letters and because of the outpouring that I get even on instant messenger or private messenger, I've decided to talk about the stigma of grief instead. You see, grief has its own stigma. Tragic events don't only include surviving suicide. Tragic events could be anything. We suffer from PTSD over many things. We have our veterans that have lost so much of themselves, physically and emotionally, in the war. People have lost their loved ones. People have lost jobs. They've lost their health. So their tragic events come in so many forms. And the stigma around that seems to be growing as well. It seems to be that people will ask, how long ago was that event? And based on your answer, they will respond. For some reason, there's a stigma about trauma that makes people think that you should just move on from it. I'm here to tell you that you don't move on from grief. Grieving is something that you carry with you the rest of your life. In most measures, people would say that I have a very good life because I'm healthy. I've got great kids and I've got grandkids and I'm happy and I travel and I get to do fun things and I have a good attitude about things. But I haven't moved on. And the reason I haven't moved on is because moving on implies that whatever the event was, that you can move away from it, that you could leave it behind you and never look back. But that isn't the case. Just like being happy, just like things that happen that are happy, like having a baby, do you say 5 years later, oh, congratulations on having the baby? But 5 years later, we say, oh, move on from that. Don't be happy about that anymore. That's happened in the past. No, of course we don't do that. How about our wedding day or our first love? That's something that we do and we're happy about and it stays with us. Understanding grief, however, is something that you can't understand unless you live it. You don't know what it's like to have a child until you've had a child. You don't know what it's like to have your first love until you've experienced it. And grief is very much the same way. Until you've held your loved one in your arms that was dying, until you've gotten that phone call in the middle of the night, or until your seat was in the front row at the funeral, you're not going to understand what grief is. I hope that you never do, but understand that the person that is grieving doesn't move on. That it's something that's part of their lives, just like the happy moments are part of their lives. The sad moments are part of their lives. These are the moments that shape us. They are the moments that define us. They're the moments that permanently impact our lives. Grief is an experience that changes us permanently. Grief is chronic, but it's not deadly. And that's the good news. For the first 3 years after my daughter died, I don't know what I did. I don't remember it. I was in such a deep depression that I don't know how I made it through the days. I was afraid to go outside. I was afraid to live because I thought for some reason that if I went on and I lived and I was happy, that somehow or another I would lose my daughter again. I felt like I had to be depressed and I had to be upset because of my grief. But through counseling and through the love of good people, I learned that grief is something that I can move forward with. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying. That's why I'm happy. That's why I can live my life happy. I can celebrate a victory. I can go to a Cowboys football game and I can have my grandchild all in the same day while I carry my grief with me. Do you understand that I could cry in the same day that I could be happy? Because that grief is something that I move forward with. So I encourage everyone, if you have that grief in your life, don't let it get you to the point of depression. We need to move forward with our grief. We need to learn how to live with it. It's part of our lives, just like our happy moments are part of our lives. Don't give up. Learn how to take that grief and multitask. You can multitask. You don't have to live in depression. Move forward, live your life, be a shining example. That's all I have to say tonight. I'm glad that you listened. Remember, you don't have to move on, but you do need to move forward. God bless you. I look forward to hearing from you. Have a good night.